Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Tuesday, everybody. I hope your day and your week have been going very well so far. We've got a new day, which of course means a new NBA player prop video to share with you guys. But first, as always, people, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. It helps the channel grow, and it really does mean a ton to us. With a new day, a new week, and a new month comes some new opportunities to go ahead and make some money. I have 4 player props to go ahead and share with you guys in today's NBA slate. But I did want to go ahead and announce here that starting tomorrow, we will do our December ladder challenge. I wanted to go ahead and do it today, but I didn't really give much announcement for it or preparation for it. So I wanted to make sure you guys knew ahead of time that we're doing it so you guys are prepared and you're ready to rock and roll when we start the ladder challenge. So starting tomorrow, December 3rd, we will start our December ladder challenge for this month. We're going to do 2 ladder challenges this month. So if you missed the one tomorrow, don't worry, we're also going to do one the week of Christmas as well. So, ladder challenge tomorrow. Today we have 4 single bets, and let's not waste any time, guys. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Jumping right into the outlier screen, our first of 4 player props in today's video comes from the I almost said Commanders. In football mode, guys, I apologize. From the Wizards-Sixers game, 7 p.m. tip-off. I'm going with the rookie VJ Edgecombe of the Philadelphia 76ers over 7.5 rebounds plus assists. I'm grabbing this one for -127 over on DraftKings. Best odds available to me. As always, guys, make sure to go ahead and shop around for the best sportsbook odds available to you guys. And the data across the board on this player prop is really, really strong. You do see that 8 of his last 10 games, he's cashed this over, averaging 9.7 rebounds plus assists per game over his last 10 games. Scroll down below here to the supporting stats, the volume of which he has. You do see he's averaging 5.5 potential assists per game and 11.4 rebound chances per game over his last 10 games. So we essentially have, on average, over the last 10 games, 17 chances per game for rebounds and assists. And again, the line is 8. So a nearly 50% hit rate cashes us the over here in this spot. Now, if we expand the data to the entire season, still pretty good. 13 of 16 games. That, of course, being an 81% hit rate, averaging 9.81 rebounds plus assists per game overall this year. And the insight provided by Outlier just kind of reiterates what we've already talked about here. 12 of his last 15 games, he's cashed this over, averaging 9.8 rebounds plus assists per game over the last 15 games. So last 10, last 15, overall, everything looks really, really good here from a data standpoint. Also, from a head-to-head perspective, he's played Washington 1 time this year, early on in the year, and he had 6 rebounds and 4 assists in that game, which obviously cashes the over. He had 13 rebound chances and 5 potential assists, so he actually left a couple opportunities there on the table. And as you guys can see here from the right side of the screen, this is a Washington team that is not very good in really any aspect, but especially in terms of giving up rebounds and giving up assists. Worst team in terms of rebounds allowed, second worst team in terms of assists allowed overall this year. We do narrow it down to the shooting guard position. 20th in rebounds allowed, 26th in assists. Scroll down below here to see what some recent performances look like against the shooting guard position. You see Kevin Porter for Milwaukee. He had 9 rebounds plus assists. AJ Green, 10 rebounds plus assists. Ben Shepherd, Luke Kennard. Dyson Daniels had a huge game. Kobe White, 9 rebounds plus assists. You just kind of keep going down the list. You see a lot of green and a lot of good numbers here. Dante DiVincenzo had 11. So some pretty good performances across the board here against this Washington team. Considering that VJ Edgecombe has been cashing consistently all year long, I really don't see why he shouldn't go ahead and cash this one here. So it's our first player prop in today's video. By the way, guys, check out this shirt. Check out this shirt. Is this not sick? All my Superbad fans out there, this is pretty sick. You got to admit, it's pretty sick. I found this in the store yesterday. I was at Target doing a little Christmas shopping. Happened to peruse into the t-shirt section, and it was just perfect. It was sitting right there, spread out. My nice 2XL. I am a big guy, 6'4". Not going to name my weight, but I'm over 250, just saying. Pretty much an NFL linebacker. And it was just sitting there all opened out, 2XL. I said, you know what? It's a sign, one of my favorite movies of all time. So go ahead and comment Nick Lovin. Comment Nick Lovin down below if you are watching the video at this point. It was between that or Muhammad. So let's go ahead and get back to the picks. Just had to go ahead and share that with you guys. I thought that was a pretty, like I said, pretty sick shirt there. McLovin, come on. One of the best movies, and honestly a great performance from Christopher Mintz-Plasse. Love that movie. One of my all-time favorites. All right. Let's go ahead and dive back into the player props here. Our second pick in today's video. And we actually have 2 picks coming from this game. It's Raptors, Blazers, 7:30 p.m. tip-off. Our first of 2 picks from this game and our second pick overall is Brandon Ingram of the Raptors under 28.5 points plus assists, which I'm grabbing for -118. Best odds available to me over on FanDuel. Now, taking an under here might seem weird, but the data actually does support this. He's cashed it in 67% of his games this year. That's 14 out of 21 games, averaging 25.19 points plus assists per game overall this season. So really good data overall. If you do narrow it down to the last 10 games, 7 of his last 10, he's cashed the under, averaging 25 points plus assists per game. You do see he kind of hovers around that number, okay? He gets pretty close sometimes, but more often than not, he is cashing the under this year. And as you can see from the insights provided by Outlier, even if you go ahead and narrow the data down to, let's say, the last 5 games, Brandon Ingram has failed to exceed 20.5 points plus assists in 4 of his last 5 games, averaging just 25.4 points plus assists per game over his last 5 games. And look, the head-to-head data is a bit outdated because this comes from last year when he was a member of the Pelicans, but in 2 of his last 3 matchups with the Blazers dating back to last season, he's cashed the under. Now, a couple of things to note. First and foremost, the volume of work that he gets, which is pretty high. Okay, he plays almost 35 minutes per game. He's taking almost 18 shots per game with 7 potential assists per game. Okay, with a player that kind of volume, I typically don't like to go ahead and take an under bet, but again, the data is where the data is at. It's pretty good. From a matchup standpoint versus small forwards overall this year, Portland 11th in points allowed, 14th in assists allowed. But if we go and jump over here to a website I like to use, Betting Pros, they have a pretty good head-to-head data numbers for position versus defense. If you look at small forwards, last 7 games in terms of points allowed, the Blazers giving up the fewest points to the small forward position over the last 7 games. And in terms of assists allowed, also to small forwards, second fewest, excuse me. So best defense over the last 7 games in terms of points allowed, second best defense in terms of assists allowed to the small forward position. So overall, solid defense versus forwards, but over the last 7 games, you narrow it down, they have been extremely dominant. And looking down below at recent performances, you understand why. We switch over to the small forwards tab here, and you'll see there are some green numbers, but these are low lines here. Okay, Keldon Johnson at 13, Lou Dortz at 12, Julian Champagne, 14. The only one who had a pretty decent game was Jimmy Butler. He had 25 points plus assists, but even for our circumstances here, that cashes the under still. Now, obviously, the line's going to be a bit elevated because Brandon Ingram gets a lot more shots in. He gets a lot more touches than, let's say, a Jimmy Butler. He chucks at a much higher frequency, but considering the defensive matchup, considering the fact that overall this year, if we do narrow the numbers down, he's shooting just 44% from the floor, so he's not really shooting great. Yes, he's shooting a lot, but he's not shooting great. And one last point, RJ Barrett is out in this game, which more often than not, if you saw a player like RJ Barrett out, you probably assume that Ingram will get much more work. You're not entirely incorrect, but there's also the factor that when RJ Barrett is out, Ingram draws more defensive awareness. Let's say, I don't know if that's the right way to say that. More defensive attention. Let's go ahead and look at the numbers here without RJ Barrett this season. We go ahead and put that filter in. We scroll down below here. So we got to narrow it down to this year. In 3 of 4 games without RJ Barrett this season, he's cashed the under. Now, he's averaging 27.25. He had one big game versus Cleveland not too long ago, a little over a week ago. But 3 straight games without RJ Barrett, he's cashed the under, and they played Indiana, Charlotte. Now, the Knicks are a pretty good matchup defensively, but these 2 teams not very good or not very well known for their defense, and he cashed the under in both of those games. And looking down below here, like I said, the volume of shots have increased. He's taking, without RJ Barrett, almost 23 shots per game. That being said, though, he's only shooting still 44%. He's taking more shots, but he's not making necessarily as many more shots. So is it a riskier play? It definitely is because of the high volume of which he works with. But considering the defensive matchup, considering the shooting numbers, it's an elevated line. I think the under could be cashed in this spot. You want to go a little bit weaker, you don't want to put a full unit, I understand, but I do think this is a good spot to go ahead and fade Ingram. All right, guys, my third pick overall and my second pick from this game, we have Jakob Poeltl of the Raptors over 12.5 points plus assists, which I am grabbing for -121, best odds available to me over on DraftKings. And pretty good numbers across the board here for Poeltl as well. 53% hit rate on the season, 8 of 15 games, averaging 12.87 points plus assists per game over the entirety of the season. Never done the last 10 games. 7 of his last 10, he's cashed the over, averaging 15 points plus assists per game over his last 10 games. And although last 5 games hasn't been great for him, again, the overall data seems to suggest this is a good spot to go ahead and tail Jakob Poeltl. From a head-to-head perspective, the last time he played Portland last year, he had a massive game, 19 points and 3 assists. And with RJ Barrett being out, Poeltl could be someone who benefits because the defensive attention will kind of draw over to Brandon Ingram. Poeltl could get some clean looks, and it is a good defensive matchup for him. Versus centers this year, you see the Blazers 24th in points allowed, 21st in assists allowed to the center position. And if you do go ahead and narrow that down to the last 7 games or so, the numbers basically remain the same, okay? The Blazers versus centers, have not been very good defensively. It's a good matchup here for Jakob Poeltl. And as you can see, the insights provided by Outlier, Jakob Poeltl has exceeded 12.5 points plus assists in 10 of his last 12 games versus bottom 10 defenses for points allowed. And he's averaging 17.2 points plus assists per game over his last 12 games against bottom 10 defenses for points allowed. And overall, Portland this year, 25th in the NBA in points allowed. So really good numbers across the board here. You look at the numbers here, playing about 26 minutes per game, about almost 9 shots per game against these kind of teams, and shooting the ball very well. And last but not least, guys, our fourth and final pick in today's video comes from the Knicks-Celtics game, 8 p.m. tip-off. And I'm going with Jalen Brunson here, over 33.5 points plus assists, which I'm grabbing for -122. Best odds available to me personally over on FanDuel. Brunson has cashed the over in 59% of his games this year. That's 10 of 17 games, averaging 34.71 points plus assists per game overall this year. So pretty good data. You do go ahead and narrow it down the last 10 games. It's 50-50, quite literally. 34.8 points plus assists per game. So not bad data. Overall, I'd say solid numbers. I mean, last 5 games, 60% overall, 59%. Head-to-head, 55%. 6 of his last 11 games against the Celtics, including playoffs, he's cashed the over, averaging 33.09 points plus assists per game over those last 11 matchups. He played them once so far this year on October 24th, and he did cash the over with 31 points and 5 assists in that game. Now, at first glance, the numbers don't look bad defensively in the favor of Boston. They're the 6th best defense this season in terms of points allowed to the point guard position, 14th in terms of assists allowed to the point guard position. But again, going back to our friends over here at Betting Pros, we narrowed down to point guards, and we look at here the numbers versus point guard. Boston giving up the 7th most points to the point guard position over the last 7 games, giving up on average 28.35 points per game. And in terms of assists, Boston is giving up the 5th most assists to the point guard position over the last 7 games. And three-pointers made, number 1. They're giving up a lot of threes to the point guard position. So it's a really good matchup spot here for Brunson. I mean, they're giving up a lot of points of late. And you look at the three-pointers, he takes about 7 threes per game over his last 5 games. So the Celtics are giving up almost 5 threes per game against point guards. This could be a big one here for Jalen Brunson. Obviously, there's a rivalry effect here between the Celtics and the Knicks. These are 2 of the heavyweights, although Boston not this year necessarily, but last year 2 of the heavyweights of the Eastern Conference. I mean, scroll down below here. Look at what point guards have done against Boston in terms of these points plus assists line of late. Darius Garland, 29. Cade Cunningham, not too long ago, less than a week ago, had 47 points plus assists. James Harden, 45 points plus assists. I say Brunson is definitely in that same ballpark. A lot of this has to do with the fact that Peyton Pritchard is a consistent starter now in this lineup. And obviously, he's a great offensive player. Defensively, he leaves something to be desired there. So I think as this play goes, again, from -122, it's really not a bad spot to go ahead and fade a Celtics defense that against point guard has been pretty damn bad. So, guys, that is it for me today. Thank you very much, as always, for watching. Make sure to check out all of our content here on the channel. We give a ton of picks all week long across NFL, college football, NBA, college basketball. So many videos, so many picks. Make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below so you don't miss a single one. Guys, that is it for me today. We'll be back tomorrow with day 1 of our December ladder challenge. Until then, I hope you're all winners. Enjoy your Tuesday. Let's go ahead and make some money.